Hello everyone, this is Jed Distler, official Chopin competition blogger for Gramophone magazine, and welcome to our daily video Chopin report from the 19th International Chopin Competition. And we are in the press room here in Warsaw, and if my voice sounds rather groggy and scratchy this morning, that's because we've been burning the candle at both ends, listening to all of the performances and taking note of them. And also, we were up late last night awaiting the results of the jury who have decided which 20 pianists will pass into stage 3 of the competition, the semifinals that will be starting tomorrow. And I also was a guest on my good friend and colleague Ben Laudy's live podcast last night. We were up until 1 in the morning. Then I had to go back to my hotel room and finish my Gramophone blog, and also to prepare my cheat sheets, my cue cards, whatever you want to call them, for this edition of the Chopin Report, because I sometimes think I can speak spontaneously, but not when I haven't had any sleep. Anyway, the jury has spoken, and we all know which 20 pianists have been chosen for stage 3 for the semifinal rounds that start tomorrow. And I'm very happy for those who've advanced, because you've all been working incredibly hard. But I am sure that you and I have personal favorites who did not get into stage 3, and there are some on my list. Right off the bat, I do want to express regret that Yan Yan Bao did not advance. I had tremendous hope for her. But she's young, she's 18 years old, and she has a long and fulfilling musical life ahead of her. So I'm not going to be spending too much time going over yesterday's performances in great detail, although I will obviously talk about them. But you can look at my Gramophone blog when it is posted today. But first, the first pianist we heard yesterday was Yehuda Propkovitz, and I found his performances quite enjoyable and maybe uniformly easygoing. I really liked his reading of the second ballade because it had a songful sense of repose that really appealed to me. Obviously, it appealed to the jury because he made it into stage 3. And Hao Rao, actually it's pronounced Hao Jiao, I found out yesterday. I felt he was underplaying throughout most of his stage 2 performance, but then he stepped up to the plate, and in his set of Chopin preludes from Opus 28, he gave a strong profile and a really unsentimental aura in the A-flat prelude number 17. And he also delivered this driving and often demonic performance of the third scherzo that I really loved, and I encourage you to look for it on YouTube. Then the pianist Anthony Ratanoff followed, and I was sad to see him eliminated because he's a very discerning musician and a very hard worker and with a lot of integrity to his artistry. And I loved especially his opening selections, which were the first 2 Chopin impromptus. And I found his performances very clear texturally and really cogent in terms of projecting the structure. And there was no received opinion about these performances. It was like hearing these works anew. I enjoyed it very much. The pianist Mia Shindu is a returning candidate from 2021. And she made it this year into stage 3. And about her complete set of 24 preludes, I'd like to say that not one note was out of place, not one phrase was out of taste. Every moment was all perfected. Nothing came off unexpected. All transpired as predicted, with louds and with softs a tad constricted. Every prelude sounded pretty, as if mapped out by committee. But the moment that Gabriele Strata took over the Steinway piano bench after Miyashindu, in his very first piece, within the first few notes of the rarely heard Bolero, Opus 19, we heard this whole new array of colors and articulations and dynamics. It was like a rainbow was opening up. And I am very disappointed, frankly, that this meticulous sound painter and consummate craftsman of a pianist did not make it into stage 3. And if you go back and listen to his carefully sculpted trills alone in the F-sharp minor, Polonaise, you will hear what I mean. So check that performance out. But I can see why Tomoharu Ushida advanced, and I encourage you to go back and listen to his performance and his imaginative voicings and articulations in the second sonata, the Funeral March Sonata. He did not feel obligated to race through its finale like an Olympic event, the way we often hear it. And you really heard the music underneath the manifesto, I think. This is one of Chopin's strangest, most enigmatic compositions, the finale of that sonata. And the way that Tomo played it, it was akin to looking at a newly restored painting. And Zitong Wang offered some unusual fare for the Chopin competition, such as the 3 équocises. And I also loved her leisurely and kind of conversational approach to the third ballade, and also her articulation of the ornaments in the Andante Spinato and Grand Polonaise. Although the Andante Spinato and Grand Polonaise that we heard from Yifan Wu benefited from a lighter touch, I think. And if you compare both of these performances, I think you will hear this for yourself. And just like Miyashindu and many others from the past few days, Miki Kamagata played the A-flat Polonaise followed by the 24 preludes. And I like her piano playing a lot because she communicates directness and healthiness, and I've enjoyed her from the beginning of this competition. However, I was not prepared to be completely riveted by William Young's Stage 2 performance. And whatever reservations I expressed in my Gramophone blog about his playing in Stage 1, I was in for a shock in Stage 2, and I just quickly fell under his spell. Even more so, I fell under Chopin's spell. For example, he opened the barcarolle quietly at an animated tempo that was marked by discreetly meaningful rubatos, and he scaled back the coda's dynamics in order to let the contrapuntal thickets gently soar. And I think this was the best performance of the barcarolle I had heard so far in the competition. And unusual yet logical shapings of phrase and carefully measured silences shed new light on the 2 Opus 32 nocturnes. These were really refreshing and often revelatory performances. And William Young's brisk and feather-light Andante Spinato mirrored the famous Joseph Hoffman recording and his miraculous polytextural aplomb, but it didn't have Hoffman's flippancy. This was really channeling what was in the score. All these little accents that you think, oh, was he inventing this? These are actually Chopin's accents. And the Grand Polonaise took vivacious wing by virtue of William Young's pointed left-hand accents and amazingly nimble right-hand filigree that really made everyone else sound thick by comparison. And he also made us perceive the last 6 Opus 28 preludes with fresh ears. And I was struck by how he dared to stretch the final three low naturals to their breaking point, just as Maurizio Pollini did in his 1960 composition performances, where he played in a way that kind of offered a streamlined view of Chopin that would influence generations of pianists. I thought that William Young reconsidered familiar pieces of music in a way that avoided cliches and approached the scores with fresh eyes and fresh ears. And he also embraced at the same time the modern piano's sonic and expressive potential to its fullest. And more importantly, William Young taps into these new interpretive possibilities for Chopin's music without being different for difference's sake. And that's no small achievement, I think. From Warsaw, this is Jed Distler, and you've been watching the Chopin Report directly from the 19th International Chopin Competition. Enjoy your day off from performances, and I will be back when we commence the semifinals. So until next time, take good care, stay well, and please, please be kind.